Alright, breaking art. End of February 2015. Futile Armada. This started out as a sketch. I just wanted to work on composition, but I kind of liked the feel of it, so I decided to start over before I got too carried away on the sketch. So this was the first digital piece where I really thought about my layers. Usually my layers are atrocious, and it gets so bad they bog down my system. But this one, like, as I was doing the sketch, I was thinking about how many layers I was going to need. And you still, like, I still wound up with a lot of layers, and but it didn't bog down my system. So I was very happy about that. Typically, like, you think your sky, and then your background land, and then your middle ground, and then your foreground. I just factor in 2 layers each. So you got 4 layers, then you're gonna have like a total of 8, and then maybe a couple more after that if you're me. But I actually named them and labeled them too. That really helped. Now these ships here, I think they're called triremes. They're Athenian ships, and they used them to fight off the Persian Navy, which was real weak back in the way day. I don't know. I'm gonna watch a lot of Crash Course, but when like I knew I was gonna have a monster. I didn't know what the ships were gonna be, and everybody's seen like Godzilla and big giant monsters go up against, you know, like World War II forces, and now modern day stuff. But what would happen if Godzilla came out during the Bronze Age? How would they go about solving that problem? I figure, you know, triremes, just ram them. If I was a tactician, that's what I would do. I'd try to catch them while they're still at sea. And I thought, I was like, well, they ram him with his height. They're probably just going to bump his kneecaps. So I thought to put a mast on the bow of the ship so they get him in the groinal area. And the good thing about doing an epic piece is that it's not like a portrait. If you're doing a portrait of somebody, it's kind of one smooth texture or whatever. With this, it really helped with the ADD, because I could, you know, work on the monster for a while, and once I got bored, I could move on to our shepherd lady and her companion, and I had ships, I had water, so I could just sit and go back and forth, ping pong back and forth between them all. Now the brush I used was actually from an old painting I did, Met, and I use that. He really makes a great foliage, and later I'm gonna make the brush tutorial. There's a million tutorials out there, but I'll do my version. Now you gotta watch them eyes digitally. You get in there in those eyes, and then you pull back. It winds up looking like Sloth from the Goonies.
Until now, only one species commanded the water with such speed, agility, and style. The 1994 line of Sea-Doo watercraft. So advanced, they're evolutionary. Everybody's doing it. Sea-Doo.
Pro tip, if you're in the painting mode and you're going back and forth between colors, you press the Alt button when you have the brush tool selected, and that gives you your color picker. So you could go in and, you know, pick some nose color or pick some mouth color and not have to, you know, go back and forth on the screen. Works out real well.
Joker's good. What a kick turn.
But watch Batman trimming. Look there, a shark. What's that in his hand?
Shark spawn. And Joker's starting an island pullout.
Yeah, I had to pull back out the mech brush, bring back some of that foliage a little bit. He smoothed out too much. Now, when I was doing this, I was listening to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, and it was pretty good social commentary that's relevant today between the haves and the has-nots. I recommend it. You can listen to it on YouTube. I got time to read, but I like listening to audiobooks. It was about this time I noticed he looked a lot like King Kong. Or, like, originally he looked like Godzilla. So I wanted to pull back his head a little bit. And then after I got done with his face, I pulled out and I was like, hey, now it looks like King Kong. It looks like the love child. It's not right. So I had to go to the birds. I worked on the birds for a little bit, and then the shepherd girl, and I really thought about the creature design. And you know what? I liked it. I liked it the way it was. So I kept it. Now at this point, I figured out, you know, I'm start laying my shadows. You know, and you got to do that on a separate layer, or it's best to. And I finally figured out you can control and click on the layer icon, and you can paint your shadows and not have to worry about painting on anything underneath of it and then going back with the eraser and everything. So you could just select everything that's in that layer, pick a new layer, and then put in your shadows and your highlights over top of it. I learned that a few months ago. This is about the time it really started coming together. Surely before this, I was getting real frustrated. It's like, oh, it looks awful, but it's kind of one of those things. There's a real ugly side to art. I mean, like probably 50-60%. It's rough looking. I call it the ugly side, and you got to slog through it. It gets a little frustrating. But once you start laying in your shadows, it starts coming together. There's two great periods. It's the beginning when you're sketching, you're coming up with a concept, you're doing the layout, you're planning it out, and then when you block it in, you just gotta slog through it like the old Rocky. You know, it's like, don't give up. Get back in there, kid.
What it is a sea-doo, is a sea-doo, is a sea-doo.
Now, this was my reward for slagging through the dull period, because the whole time I was trying to figure out how to convey the message that a monster was throwing the ship into another ship. See, his hand back there looks like he's about to grab that one ship. So I was like, how could I show movement? I got to thinking, I was like, You know, the real world and physics gave me the answer, because if a monster picks up a ship, there's going to be hundreds of gallons of water that just streak across, let alone like debris and bodies. So I really started having fun about this point.
Beach blanket bingo, that's the name of the game. Beach blanket bingo, beach blanket bingo, beach blanket bingo, bingo!
Now, the water was real fun. It's really the only time I pull out the smudge tool, because you could get some really good water effects out of that. And I think I spent so much time around water in my life, between like sailing when I was younger and jet skiing and then surfing. So my visual library is really cued towards water, and it almost comes natural. It's a lot of fun for me. And then I also got to do the water dripping from his hand. Yeah, all that sun, all that light in there, and all that water, I figured I had to put in a rainbow, maybe two. And then yeah, I found myself, you know, I wanted to do a real crisp piece, because I found my last couple of pieces were really stylized, and I didn't want to become dependent on stylization. I wanted to do something daytime and nice and crisp, and then put a pretty border on it and a nice stylized signature. Alrighty guys, there she be, Futile Armada. Thanks for watching, and take it easy. Later.